here's what we're going to do, because this is actually, I think, a very interesting segue, because I think it counters your point just a little bit, what I'm going to say right here. Kyle Rittenhouse was angry before the election, right?
I don't know. I
Well,
can't speak to what was in his
the
heart.
shooting happened prior to the election.
He was angry?
Well, whatever happened, he had an AR-15 and went to a Black Lives Matter Antifa protest turned riot, to use your terms, before the election, though, is what I'm saying. This trouble has been in existence, and whites in the middle of America have been angry and counter-protesting before Trump lost the election.
Correct.
So I need you to give voice, because now we're shifting to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. You know about Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
It's all related. We know what you have, how you have supported Kyle, and we don't. I mean, people can assume, and we're going to get to how we feel about that. But you've got to tell us something other than the election that justifies or that explains that the perspective of Kyle and people like yourself who supported him before Donald Trump lost the election.
Well, the reason I supported Kyle Rittenhouse is because I believe he needs a fair trial.
He should absolutely have a fair
trial. I think he should have a fair trial.
He needs a fair trial.
Absolutely.
He needs to hear, the evidence has to be presented before a jury. It has to be done in a court of law. Sorry. And,
absolutely.
And what I saw happening with that boy is he was being, in the mainstream media, the Marxist streaming media, he was being found guilty.
It's not a Marxist media.
And so,
the people who run the press, they are not. The people who actually run. If you ask them if they've read Marx, they would look at you and say, "I have no idea."
They have no
what
idea.
you're talking about."
Do you really think that the media owners are not capitalists?
I don't think they really.
Rupert Murdoch, and I can list other people.
I don't know what's in them, but back to Kyle. But back to Kyle.
Let's deal with Kyle.
Let's deal with Kyle. So I saw a young man, 17, that could have been any one of our children, any one of our kids.
Not mine.
Okay. I don't control my kids, so I give them a free choice and free agency.
But your sons wouldn't have been out there.
There's absolutely a chance that one of my kids could have been Kyle. And so, anyway, they could have been. So what I saw was a 17-year-old boy being crucified in the press as a white supremacist and a racist. When I didn't see any evidence of that. He shot 3 white people, and he was being made to be a racist. And the patriots are being made to be racist. This is destructive Marxist streaming media propaganda. We are not racist.
Why did he have an assault weapon?
Well, the AR-15 platform is the most popular long rifle in America.
I know that.
It's the most popular long rifle.
Why did he have it?
For self-defense.
Against whom?
There was many people that had been killed in that summer of violence in riots prior to Kyle's
approximately 20 people
participation. Died. And so he was there. I mean, he was there.
He didn't live there.
He worked in Kenosha.
He did not.
He works. He's a lifeguard in Kenosha. So he lives right across the border. He came to Kenosha. It's a town that he works in. I think it was the 3rd night of violence, and this is a kid that
he's self-appointed protector.
He was asked to go to defend a business and get paid a little bit of money and to help out this car dealership, body shop area, and so he went there with his sister's boyfriend, the 2 of them. They're both kids. And that was their intention, was to defend that business, but that changed.
Should you really entrust that kind of a weapon to a 17-year-old? I have 19 and 20-year-olds as my students. I must say that not all of them exhibit the highest levels of maturity that I would like to see.
Correct.
They're not.
Correct.
They're not.
Most people can't handle a weapon like that.
Yeah, and if they're not particularly mature at 20 and 21, I really wonder about 17-year-olds. My daughter's now grown up. When she was 17, I really wondered about her level of maturity, and I had good reason to wonder about her level of maturity.
Everybody's different for sure, but from my experience, from what I've seen, Kyle acted in self-defense.
Against whom? What are they doing to him?
We haven't seen the video, sir.
No, I haven't.
It's not fair for us to really discuss it unless you've seen the videos.
I mean, Kyle was running from an unarmed man. And an unarmed man was chasing him.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. So I'm
not... But there was a gunshot from behind.
That's true. Fair enough.
There was a man chasing him, an adult male, and he's 17. and then a gunshot rang out from behind Kyle. So if you were getting chased running for your life, which he was, I think it's a fair assumption you might think the person behind you just shot at you. If it came from behind you, you can't tell.
Maybe. Can I ask you something though? Does it matter why Kyle was running? Because we don't see the whole video of the night. We see him running and then killing people. Does it matter why he's running?
Well, absolutely, because if it's not self-defense, then it's not self-defense.
So if he fired his weapon before that time we saw in video, does that change your opinion? In other words, if he fired the weapon and they were chasing him because they felt he should be disarmed for having fired that
would
weapon.
Absolutely. If he provoked that chase in some way by shooting at somebody, that changes everything. But that's why we're going to have a trial, and the evidence will come out.
Yeah, let it. I mean, I assume he's going to be tried. I
He
assume
is.
There'll be a jury. I assume that there'll be a fair jury. I
Yes.
assume he's well represented by.
He has a great
counsel.
young attorney.
Good.
Not young, sorry. Great attorney.
Good.
So that's.
I assume the Kenosha prosecutor will be well prepared.
Yes, sir.
See how it sorts out. I'm fine with that.
We have to abide by the court's decisions, the jury's decisions. That's our system. That's our process.
Well, but not on the election. Okay, we're changing the subject.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
Got me. Zinger.
He's up. I don't even. I haven't followed it with that level of precision because.
Yeah.
I
Let the
followed
jury decide. They hear the
it.
evidence.
Fine.
Just like in the. Have you been watching the George Floyd thing?
I've been watching it
seen clips
closely.
of it.
I've seen a little bit.
We're
here
going to
and
talk
there.
about that next. But before
Okay.
we get to that, is there a precedent or a history of white men not receiving fair trials in the United States that forced you out into the streets to help Kyle? Are you really concerned that Kyle is not? Now,
I would have bailed him out if he was a black kid. I swear to you.
Leaving aside the media point, because we know the media can try people unfairly. But do you really think that Kyle is not going to get a fair trial in America?
I think Kyle's going to get a fair trial. I think he's going to get he's going to get a fair trial.
So do you think that the bail system is a problem?
I don't know anything about the bail system.
But the bail system means that rich people can be out with their friends.
I know the bail system.
While poor people have to wait in jail for trial because they don't have money to bail themselves out.
There are large numbers of people right here in LA, not just a few miles from where we're now sitting, who are incarcerated in the LA County Jail because they cannot afford bail. And a disproportionate number of those people are men and women of color.
Mm-hmm.
And the bail is not that even excessive.
Right, but they still can't afford it.
$4,000 or $5,000, and even to pay a bondsman at 10%,
Mhm.
you can't do it.
Well,
And the tragedy, if I can add, is that you know what they end up doing? Is they take pleas to get out of jail before trial.
They plead
That's
out
not right.
because that's the only way.
Especially if they're innocent.
Right.
Especially if they're innocent.
They may be innocent and they plead out because that's the only way they can get out of jail.
Paul, are you comfortable talking about your jail experience so that I can compare that to what some other people might have to face when they're thinking about whether they want to stay in the lockup?
I had a
to
pretty
fight
bad
trial?
jail. I've had a couple of bad
Let's briefly
jails.
talk about your experience, because what can happen to you while you're in jail? And why would someone who is innocent take a plea that gives them no time and a strike felony conviction just to get out of the lockup?
I know, but I had a horrible time in jail, but I had a bail bondsman. It was a movement jail bondsman. It took 7 or 8 hours for me to get out of jail when I was arrested in San Diego. But the police officers made it uncomfortable for me because they didn't like civil rights demonstrators. So they were going to show that white boy. They put me first in a drunk tank. And I saw these poor old men, they were probably in their 40s or their 50s, but they looked old to me, and they were vomiting all over the place. And then they put me in with a group of, they were aggressive homosexuals, but they started molesting me, not bad, I mean, I wasn't raped. They grabbed my crotch, they grabbed my butt, and they were doing that under the instructions of the police. They were going to show me. And it wasn't horrible, but it was uncomfortable.
you can't just label police. I've learned this. It's individual people that make those decisions.
But they were done under
the
directions of the individual police who told them.
It's poor leadership. It's poor. It's not. It's like
I
it's like you can't smear the army. You can't smear organizations.
I understand that, but there was those individual police.
Yeah.
And then I was in a cell for, I don't remember how long, but I was just waiting for the bondsman to get me the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And when I had the subsequent trial for the misdemeanor offenses, one of the prosecution witnesses was my cellmate. He was an undercover police officer for the San Diego Police, and he just lied. I'm not making this up.
He was in there as to get information?
Yeah,
Do
he
that all
got
the time.
information. He just lied.
Okay.
I mean, I don't lie.
Can you look up the term for police officers that pretend to be inmates in
Perps.
jail? There's a term for
It
that.
happens.
To get information. It's commonly done.
It's common. I mean, he just lied. He said stuff.
So he
that
gathered intel and then used it against you in the trial.
Stuff up. I didn't say it.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, you've been my student. I don't lie.
Right.
I mean, I say.
Not about this. You would lie about
I,
it.
I don't.
You stand for your convictions.
I mean, not about anything, but I'm saying nobody lies about stuff like this.
No, I mean.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so now,
there was and people in jail. I mean, I've talked to them. They pleaded that guilty to stuff they didn't do just so they could get out of jail. And it's largely people of color. It's a bad situation. Now, I don't know the Rittenhouse case.
Yeah,
so well.
yes, sir.
I do want them to get a
Fair
fair
trial.
trial.
of course, this is America.
I believe in fair trials. I have been watching the George Floyd.
Well, let's get to that, but I want to just say one thing to Ricky, if I could, because I think, are you being fair when you say that we can't paint the military with a broad brush and we can't paint the police with a broad brush? We have to look at the individual officers. Are you applying that same standard to Black Lives Matter and Antifa and Black people in the community generally?
Yes.
Like, it's not, you can't paint
You
Black
can't
Lives
paint
Matter
an entire organization or
or
group of people in any
Antifa.
way,
or even the January 6th protesters.
unless it's their written policy.
And I'd like to. Fair enough, but even written policies, like, are we all Americans tied to what the Constitution said? But okay, fair enough. Here's the thing that I like to do. I like to bridge the gap and see where we can find middle ground. We didn't really find middle ground on Antifa and January 6th protesters.
Well, I'm no fan of Antifa.
That's okay, but here's an idea, and I know this is, both of you might resist this a little bit, but I think that's what makes it a compromise. Would you be willing to say free Kyle Rittenhouse pending trial because he shouldn't have been held on bond?
Well, I don't know if it's murder one.
He's not a flight risk. He's not going anywhere. Would
No,
you be? Would
It's
you
not
say
murder one.
free?
Is murder one premeditated?
That's right. It's not murder one.
Yeah,
It's-
all right,
it's
if
murder
it's not,
two.
if it's not premeditated,
It's
I'm
not.
fine to free him on bail.
Free Kyle Rittenhouse says leftist socialist Paul von Blum pending a fair trial, and I support that. Free every American unless they're a threat to society
Yeah,
pending
I'm
a
fine. There
fair
are people
trial.
who shouldn't be freed.
They're a threat to society.
Yeah, but in general, I'm in favor of freeing people before trial. There are a couple of very dangerous people who really shouldn't be freed. There's some of the people on the January 6th thing who shouldn't be freed.
I'm sure, sir. I don't know them all.
Yeah, I don't know them either.
I don't know.
But to reach middle ground, Ricky had already said this, so I'm just going to rewind. If Kyle instigated that altercation, he's guilty of some kind of killing.
Correct.
Killing.
If he provoked it,
Instigated, like
instigated it.
What I understand is he
That
fired
changes the whole dynamic.
What I understand is he fired his weapon at someone that he thought was an arsonist. And that's what triggered the people chasing him, saying, "You better not fire that gun. I'm going to take it from you." And then he killed them for trying to take his weapon.
I just don't know.
I don't know
I'm
the
willing
facts.
to see what
The facts come out.
How they come out with the facts. I just don't know, Harold. I didn't follow
And that's
it.
that's the beauty, is that's where we can find middle ground.
Yeah,
is
I
we
don't
don't
know.
know what
I'm
all the
willing-
facts and what happened. Right?
I'm willing to see where the facts come out.
Yes.
We're going to watch that trial too. So
I-
now
I'm
let's
gonna
talk
watch
about
it.
let's
Yeah.
talk about George Floyd. Who wants to go first? Go
I
ahead.
mean, I'm watching it. Well,
Have you been following it?
I've watched clips.
Yeah, I
Same
watch
here.
clips, so I try to watch it in between.
The last thing I saw was that he died as a result of the asphyxiation and loss of oxygen, not the fentanyl. That's the last thing the expert. Of course, the defense hasn't gone yet, but that's what the prosecution has.
I think it's fairly clear and ambiguous. I think he was murdered.
I wasn't there. I don't
We
even
have
want
a
to.
video.
I don't even want to talk about it as far as, because I'm not in the jury.
You know,
I'm not seeing the evidence. So it's so
Can I ask you
destructive for all of us to sit here and pontificate
Maybe.
about
Can I ask you
stuff.
a
When will
pointed,
pontificate?
Can I ask you in a
We're not-
pointed way? If that was a video of your son on the ground with the officer's knee, and you saw the exact same video,
It looks horrible.
But fair enough.
It looks terrible.
Would you want that cop to be punished?
It looks terrible. Listen, from the first blush, it's offensive, it's insulting, it's